Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the dynamic, complex, and honestly pretty fascinating story of modern Italy. I know, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, right? But believe it or not, the answer tells us so much about a country that's going through this huge transformation. So we're going to connect these dots for you, these seemingly random threads, to paint a clear picture of what's really going on in Italy right now. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the global economic headwinds Italy is facing. Then we'll look at a new Italian landscape. After that, we'll see how Italy is rewriting its own rules before diving into some incredible innovation, Italian style. And finally, we'll get a taste of tradition. All right, let's dive into our first section. We're talking about a major challenge brewing on the world stage, a potential trade war with the US that's putting some of Italy's most iconic industries at risk. And the stakes here, they're huge. We're talking 65 billion euros. That's the total value of what Italy sells to the United States every single year. So yeah, any kind of disruption to that relationship could send massive shockwaves through the entire Italian economy. And this chart really puts it all into perspective. You can see the three pillars of that famous Made in Italy brand that are most vulnerable. We've got agro-food, machinery, and the automotive sector. For Italy, you have to understand, these aren't just things they sell, they're a huge part of their national identity, real cultural symbols. And the potential damage, it's just staggering. The Italian Agricultural Association, Coldiretti, is forecasting that agri-food sales could drop by 30%. I mean, think about that. We're talking hundreds of millions of euros in lost sales for those amazing products we all know and love: wine, cheese, olive oil. It would be a huge hit. Okay, so that's the external pressure. But the challenges aren't just coming from the outside. Let's look at what's happening back home. We're seeing these really fundamental shifts, both in the climate and in housing, that are literally redrawing the map of where and how people in Italy live. And this is where things get really interesting. It turns out the hottest year on record has completely flipped the script on which cities are considered the most livable. For ages, it was all about the northern and central cities. But now? Well, now it's coastal southern cities like Cagliari, Naples, and Salerno that are topping the list. And it's pretty simple why. Those lovely sea breezes are making all the difference. So at the same time, you've got this climate shift. There's a cultural one happening too. That classic Italian dream of owning your own home, it's starting to change. We're seeing a big move towards renting, 30% of households now, up from just 20% a decade ago. It seems like more and more people are choosing the flexibility of renting over being tied to a mortgage. But check this out. Here's a wild paradox. Even as rents are soaring in the big cities because of all this demand, get this, there are 9.5 million empty homes across the country. It's a huge disconnect, and it really shines a light on one of the biggest challenges facing Italy's housing market today. So, you might be wondering, how is Italy supposed to deal with all this? Well, here's the thing. They're not just sitting back and reacting. They're actually getting proactive and launching this massive project of self-reinvention. And they're starting right at the foundation: their laws, and how they manage their assets. Think of it like a giant spring cleaning for the country's legal code. They are literally tossing out 30,000 old, complicated, and frankly, completely outdated laws. I mean, some of this stuff goes all the way back to the monarchy and the fascist era. The goal is just to simplify everything and make the whole system easier to navigate. And this is a really big deal. It's a whole new way of looking at things. They're introducing this concept of use value. Instead of just seeing their incredible cultural heritage, the Colosseum, the art, as something that costs money to maintain, they're starting to see it as an active economic asset, one that can generate real revenue from tourism, tickets, and rent over the long run. And all this reinvention, it's pouring fuel on a fire of innovation. Italy isn't just coping with change, it's getting out ahead of it, actively creating the future. And we're seeing this everywhere, from grassroots tech all the way up to its dominance in global design. You want a perfect example? Let's talk about Arduino. The whole thing started with an idea in a bar in Ivrea back in 2005. The goal was simple: make technology accessible for everyone. And from that one idea, it just exploded. It became this go-to tool for students and hobbyists. And now it's being used in serious industrial automation, in medicine, even in AI. And the secret to its success is this brilliant philosophy from one of the co-founders, Massimo Bonzi. He calls it a formula for just enough technology. The point isn't to overwhelm people with complexity. It's to give them tools that are powerful, sure, but also simple and intuitive enough to unlock their creativity. And that innovative spirit is exactly what powers Italy's design industry. I mean, look at this. Italy is an absolute powerhouse. The Made in Italy design sector pulls in almost 20% of the entire EU's revenue in the space. That's more than Germany, more than France. It's just dominant. All right. For our final section, we're going to bring everything together. This is where we see how Italy does something truly special. It takes its ancient traditions and blends them with the demands of the modern world to create a serious competitive advantage. A huge part of Italy's success, especially with food, comes down to the EU's super strict farm-to-table safety standards. See, the EU operates on what's called the precautionary principle. Basically, if there's a potential risk, they act, even without 100% scientific proof. That's pretty different from the US system, which usually waits for conclusive evidence. And you know what? This strictness has become a mark of quality. It's a big reason why Italian food exports have skyrocketed to almost 70 billion euros. And this is where we finally get back to those monks and their beer. It's the perfect story to tie everything together. These Benedictine monks from Norcia just went and won 3 major international awards for their beer, a gold, a silver, and a bronze. And they were up against thousands of other breweries from all over the world. But this is so much more than just a great beer. It's a story of resilience. They rebuilt their brewery from scratch after that terrible earthquake in 2016. It's a story of quality and heritage. They use traditional Belgian methods, but with local Umbrian malt. For these monks, brewing is part of their spiritual life. And now they're exporting this incredible product to Europe and, yes, to the United States, the very same market that could hit them with tariffs. It's tradition and global commerce, all in one bottle. So when you look at it all together, the story of modern Italy is really one of incredible adaptability. It's this nation in constant motion, right? It's facing these huge global pressures and massive shifts at home. But instead of breaking, it's weaving its future from these 2 threads: ancient heritage on one side and modern disruption on the other. And that unique ability to blend the old with the new just leaves you wondering, what on earth will they come up with next?